Welcome Villanova. My name is Robbie D, your grade 12 representative, and today I'm sitting down with Vice Principal, Mr. Kittl.
Morning, everybody. How are you doing, Wildcats?
So, sir, to jump off, get a fun question here. So many students may not know this, but you actually lived in Dubai for a decent period of your life. Can you talk to the viewers a little bit about that?
I sure can. Yeah, that's probably a little known fact, but from 1997 until 2004, so I think everybody in Villanova was not born at that point, I was teaching with my wife in Dubai. It was the third year of my teaching career. Jobs were scarce at that time, and just like the challenges of being a young educator today, you have to make some choices if you want some full-time employment, and that's where our adventure led us, and it was a great start to our career.
That's amazing. So taking it back to your childhood, and every child, they have some sort of career aspiration that, whether it's an astronaut, a professional athlete. Did you ever see yourself becoming a teacher and a vice principal?
It's a great question, Robbie, because my dad was a teacher. My wife's dad was a teacher and then later a principal, so we're both second generation educators. I think it was always in the back of my mind. I remember I used to help him mark his math work, and I was always very interested in it. But when I started university, I was in the Bachelor of Business Administration program at Brock, and I wanted to be an accountant. But somewhere along the way, I changed my focus and decided not only education, but to mix both worlds, the administration with the education, with the goal of teaching for about 15 years, half a career, and then getting into admin the second half, and that's the path that I followed.
So, sir, working with youth and being a mentor to youth, how has that impacted your life?
It's been a great career choice for me. I always say to students, if you found a job where you don't look at the clock, you're not concerned about the passage of time, and you look forward to going to work in the day, you're lucky enough to have found what you love doing and stick with that. And I really feel for the most part that that's where I'm at. I've always been a coach, and I think I bring parts of that into the role as a vice principal. I was lucky enough to work with many good principals and vice principals along the way, and you take a little piece of each of them along with you. And I think ultimately you just have to be yourself and treat the students how you feel they would like to be treated. And I think if you ask most of the students around here, I'm not the type of person that talks down to people or any of that. I'm just looking to how can we solve a problem and make things better.
For sure. So one thing most students know is that you're a big Montreal Canadiens fan, and your basement is flooded with Montreal Canadiens collectibles. Can you talk to me a little bit about the process of designing your basement?
So the Hab Shrine, as we call it now, is in its fifth carnation. The first one started in an apartment in Welland, in a 2-bedroom apartment with just a few items. And then it traveled with me to each of the 3 places we lived in Dubai. Our first place in LaSalle, and then our second place in LaSalle became the full-on basement. That's the first time it was a full basement. And then when we moved to Amherstburg a year and a half ago, have a pretty large space, probably over 1,500 square feet, dedicated to the Habs. The walls are painted in that color. It's just an homage to their history, because unfortunately when they haven't won the cup for 30 years, that's all we have. Could be worse, could be a Leafs fan. It's the teams that I grew up with. It's an important connection to me, to my grandfather, who was the one that started me with the Habs fan. He's from Eastern Ontario. My grandmother, who's from Quebec, and my Uncle Jim, my namesake. Those are the biggest influences, along with my mom. And it's kind of like carrying on the family tradition. And it's so deep in my blood that, my favorite day of the year, and I say this without a lie, is the day that the NHL schedule comes out so I can start planning my road trips for the year.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, sir, if I could ask you a piece of advice. I recently asked a girl to prom and got rejected. How do you deal with rejection in your life?
Geez, I think you have to learn from it. You can't take it personally. And you have to try and move on, move forward in a positive way. I think sometimes you have to be a better self-reflector, and it's not a trait that everybody has, because they're not often honest with themselves. I feel that throughout my life that I've been fairly honest at knowing what I'm okay at and knowing where I need work. So for example, I've also played hockey pretty much all my life. In the last 2 minutes of a game, if you're trying to defend a lead, you don't want me on the ice at all. Okay, I'm not going to be that defensive player. But if you're trying to get a goal, maybe I can help in that area. And it's just knowing yourself a little bit. I'm sorry that that happened to you. That would be her loss, I guess.
Appreciate that.
But I'm sure that you'll find a match for you, and it might not happen immediately, but it will happen.
Well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
One final thing. What's next in your journey?
So students here may or may not know this, but I've been transferred to Brennan for next year, so I'll be a Cardinal. Unfortunately, my stay here at Villanova was only 1 year, and that makes me a little sad because I was really looking forward to coming here. I loved my year here. A special shout out to our WEXA champion girls hockey team that I was fortunate enough to coach along with Mr. Frias and of course Mr. Paranuzzi, and a great team where many of them are coming back. This is part of the role of the vice principal and principal. You can be moved at any time. You have to understand that the board has a plan for us. You don't question it. You're basically an employee that will stand by their decisions. Obviously emotions are involved, but I'll go there and try and do the best job that I can, but I'll certainly look fondly back on my time at Villanova, and I'll miss the 10-minute drive.
Well, sir, I just want to say I really appreciate you sitting down with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Robbie. Thank you for having me.
Well, guys, that's going to conclude the interview with VP Kittl. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.